So Apple just announced the new iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, and iPhone 11 Pro Max, and it almost seemed as if they were announcing a brand new camera as opposed to a brand new phone. They put a lot of emphasis on the camera, especially on the iPhone 11 Pro. So seeing as how they mentioned the word pro and professional photographer a lot when it came to the new camera, I thought it would be fun to make a video coming from the perspective of a professional photographer who uses professional cameras on a daily basis. This is my Sony a6300 here. I'm filming on the Sony a6500. I've used these two cameras extensively over the past few years, and photography is pretty much what I do. And I wanted to give you guys my thoughts, my first impressions, at least according to their keynote, on the new camera. I'll definitely be getting one. I'm on the iPhone 6s Plus right now, and I've had this for a few years, and it served me well, but it seems like it's getting a little bit slower every day, and I'm just kind of ready for something new. So if you want to see more iPhone content after this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll definitely be making more videos about the new iPhone. That being said, the first thing I want to talk about is the 3-lens system. So Apple has put 3 lenses on the back of their new iPhone 11, a 13mm ultra wide angle, a 23mm kind of regular zoom angle, and a telephoto lens, which is a 52mm. The 13mm lens has an aperture of 2.4. The 26mm has an aperture of 1.8, and the 52mm has an aperture of 2.0. Now, Apple was talking a lot about depth of field and how exciting these wide apertures are. If you're new or don't know much about photography, basically what the aperture is it's kind of like the iris of the lens, kind of like the iris of your eye. So the wider the aperture gets, the more light can come into the camera. And kind of a side effect of this is so the wider the aperture, the more depth of field gets introduced, and the more you have like focus separation of whatever you're focusing on and things in the background or foreground or whatever. So wide apertures are typically used for like headshots or portraits or things like that, so you can really focus on the person, the subject, and kind of blur out everything else. Wide apertures usually give you a good amount of blur in the photo apart from your subject, and it makes the photo look really good. So they were talking a lot about the apertures, which, wide apertures such as f.8 or f2.0 is nothing new for the iPhone. I think the iPhone XS and the iPhone X had an aperture of 1.8 on the rear lenses. I think also the iPhone 8 had that as well. I forget. Like I said, I'm on the iPhone 6s Plus. It's been a while since I've owned a new iPhone, but the wide apertures are nothing new, but they are nice. The iPhone 11 will be my first phone that has multiple lenses on the back of it. The iPhone 6s Plus only has one, so I'm very excited to kind of test the new lens system personally and kind of scroll back and forth and zoom in and out between the lenses. I think that's going to be pretty fun. On the camera I do professional shoots with, what I would normally have to do is, this is kind of like the lens I use the most. What I would normally have to do is take this one off and then put another lens on here depending on the focal length that I wanted. And with the new iPhone, you obviously don't have to do that because all the lenses are built into the camera. Albeit it's just not going to be nearly as on par as the quality of something like this, but it's still very nice that you don't have to change. You get that option, and you don't have to have third-party lenses to put on the camera at all. So the second thing I wanted to talk about and that I'm pretty interested in is what they dubbed Deep Fusion. And they didn't spend too much time talking about this, but they mentioned it uses the neural network in the phone. And forgive me if I'm quoting that wrong. It was neural something. The details of it are still kind of up in the air in my head, and I may have just missed where they explained it more in detail. But what Apple was saying was Deep Fusion is a way to capture an entire dynamic range of a scene, basically with one click of the shutter button. So basically what happens is the phone takes 8 shots before you even click the shutter button, is what Apple said. And then when you click the shutter button is when the 9th shot is taken, and the new iPhone 11 is going to process all these photos and blend them all together, and basically you end up with a single image with an entire dynamic range of light and color detail and things like that. And again, for those who are new to photography, basically what the phone is doing is, as Apple said, taking 9 different shots and blending them all together. So they'll take shots that are darker, shots that are brighter, and shots that are in the middle. And that way they can combine all of them, and you get more details in the brighter parts of the photo in the darker images, and more details in the darker parts of the photo in the brighter images. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a little bit easier to show you, but this is something that's called bracketing. And I do this a lot for interior design and any kind of landscape photography I'm doing outside when it's bright outside and there are kind of harsh shadows or things like that. It's a good way to capture an entire scene's dynamic range, and you don't get a sky that's just pure white and just totally bright and all the details lost. And you also don't get things that are just totally black either and all the details are lost in the shadows. What I'm very impressed with, and we'll have to see how this performs in reality, but what I'm color me impressed with this feature because a 9-shot bracket HDR image is crazy. I've never actually done that professionally. I could if I wanted to, but I haven't. So I think the most I've done is 5. So seeing this capability built within a phone, all you have to do is just press the shutter button once, and that's pretty exciting. The third thing I wanted to mention is cinematic stabilization. Now, I don't remember Apple actually talking about this a lot. I feel like they just mentioned it kind of at the end when they were mentioning everything else the camera could do, and they were just like, oh yeah, cinematic stabilization, on to the next thing. I know the lenses have stabilization built into them, but curious what cinematic stabilization means. Something else about the new iPhone 11 that was pretty cool in my mind was the phone's ability to capture video from the back camera and the front camera at the same time. And I think also like all of the lenses on the back cameras and the front camera as well. It may not be able to do all 4, but so they had some gentlemen come on the stage from Filmic talk about this. So there's an app that's going to be released later this year, or maybe early next year, I forget which. It's called Filmic Pro, which will allow the iPhone to do this, film from the back and the front at the same time. This may have been around for a while. This is the first time that I've heard of it, and it seems pretty cool. This is something that I've been wanting to do on my camera, but I can't because my camera can only record with one lens at a time. But it would be, I've had the idea of maybe filming something with a wider angle lens and then putting another telephoto lens or something like that on this camera and trying to film with both of them at the same time with different focal lengths. I never put it into practice though, but again, having the capability to do that on one phone is crazy. Night mode was something else I'm interested in. We'll see like if it actually performs as well in real life as it does in the videos they displayed. Normally the videos camera companies use for marketing and things like that are, professionally lit beforehand, and all the lighting is just perfect and the colors are perfect to make, videos shot with the phones looking the best possible. But yeah, I'm interested in night mode because that's been one thing that I haven't been able to do with my phone when I haven't wanted to take, this thing around with me, is film in darker scenes or photograph something in a dark scene, and this just doesn't cut it. The only thing I wish Apple had done, and they may have, I'll have to wait and get my hands on the new iPhone, but the only thing I wish they had done is put something to access the camera's settings inside of the actual camera app on the phone. From what I could tell from their keynote, the settings option wasn't there, but again, I'll have to get my hands on one and test one. So do I think the new iPhone 11 will replace professional cameras like this one? Absolutely not. And they probably won't ever. And until Apple develops a standalone camera, which I think they could do very, very good with, this still remains a phone. And phones have to be designed and engineered for multiple things that have nothing to do with taking photos. Taking photos and cameras is just one aspect of a phone. Professional cameras like this, and the one I'm filming on, and even full-frame cameras, their sole intention is photography and videography and taking photos. That's what they're designed for. That's what they're engineered for. They have a lot more options and capabilities than would be possible to fit in a phone that is supposed to fit in your pocket all the time. So yeah, those are my thoughts. However, I am very excited about the capabilities of the new iPhone 11, and I'm excited to get my hands on one and test one. And more than likely, I will be bringing one on a professional photo shoot that I'll be doing in the future, just to test it out, see its capabilities firsthand, and if I do, I'll definitely put that video on YouTube. That being said, if you're interested in more iPhone 11 content, feel free to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.